So he's an active speaker in the mobile design community and has an MBA in design strategy from CCA, California
College of the Arts.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And he has worked with some of the world's brightest and most influential organizations, both large and small, and is in the design of mobile, cloud, social, and web service products, and that are attractive, creative, and above all, simple. Is that okay?
Great introduction.
All right. Let me ask you. So you're totally behind the game.
Okay.
All right.
I'll try to catch up.
So, anybody have a good question for him to get caught up with? So, okay.
Yeah, I have an idea. Good.
Well, go ahead. No, please.
No, one thing I would like us to talk about is very specific examples of applications within the various companies we worked in and what's worked well for responsive or adaptive. Right, because I have some examples from Netflix I think are interesting.
All right. Why don't you start with one of them, and we'll go down the line a little bit.
Okay. You want me to start?
Yeah.
Okay. So, well, I've just, as you guys know, responsive is a pretty new space, and one of the companies I think do a really good job with responsive design is Microsoft.com. I was really impressed in terms of how they really incorporated good user experience within the breakpoints as using the right UI interface elements. I think it's a new paradigm which everyone's trying to learn, and I think they're really being good stewardess of the system in terms of creating new UI interfaces, such as, how do you create a navigation bar? And I know a lot of designers out there in the industry are admired by how Microsoft purchased a lot of their web service sites out there. And so that was one of the sites which I would highly recommend to check out.
Well,
Bill, why don't you go ahead and give us a real specific example, and we'll start getting into more
so
like
I remember one time
example.
I was giving a talk at a conference, and I was talking about what we were doing at Netflix. I was at Netflix at the time, and I got a lot of hate because I said, no, we don't use responsive at all. It doesn't. It's worthless for us.
The last time we had a meetup here, Netflix basically had that response, and I went, what?
Yeah.
I was kind of insulted, yeah.
No, totally.
Yeah,
and
it's
it
a
makes
very specific problem, though.
I can explain. It makes perfect sense because we had the website, right? And you could argue, well, have a good experience on the mobile, but nobody could stream on the mobile, so there wasn't much reason other than have a simple queue manager. And people had already written queue managers with the API, so we had no interest in writing a queue manager. It was just a waste of time for us. We had limited resources. But as we got to TV, and we started then getting the ability to stream on the mobile device, we knew we wanted to have an experience there. But we also relied heavily on A/B testing. We knew how to do the website, but we had no idea really how people might use TV especially. So there was no way we were going to use the same code base. Now we got trapped in that one point. When we first did the iPad, we sort of had a mandate. We had to have it done in 30 days because Steve Jobs reached out to us like 30 days before, said you got to be part of the launch.
And this is with streaming.
Yeah, this was streaming, and we took the website and tried to adapt it and make it responsive to the iPad, and that was a disaster. Because every time the website team, my team would change something over, it'd break the iPad because people weren't looking at the iPad and that kind of nonsense. So what we decided to do was just really think big and see what would work in those areas. So if you're not careful with responsive and those sort of things, it's the technology wagging the dog, right? Because you really want to nail the experience, and technology is subservient to the experience. And the problem with a lot of these discussions is people start with being purists, like, oh, I want to reuse my code and all that. Reuse is the enemy of use sometimes, right? So we really wanted to nail it. So when we launched the PS3, we actually had 4 different major experiences and at least 16 different test cells. There's no way this website could have responded to that. It was radically different. The box shots were a bit bigger. Each one of those experiences was really different. We had
so you weren't really building different user interfaces for final. You were testing which user interface is going to work.
Yeah.
So it was really
But we
tested.
had no desire to bring those together because we were going to continue to test. Netflix never stops testing, which is a fallacy with a lot of companies. They test once or whatever. That's something we're trying to get PayPal into the mindset of. Instead of long ramp cycles, actually getting to always testing. Right. And when you actually test, so I'll give you another example, don't want to dominate, but with PayPal, when we were reinventing our checkout experience, we've been reinventing that over the last year, we have a very custom experience on the mobile because we have, $14-15 billion worth of volume that flow through that. But with this new experience, we didn't want to take the time, so we just did responsive. And it got us where we needed to be. Now we'll come back and we'll do an adaptive experience, and we'll test the hell out of that channel to make as much money as we can.
Do you think your code bases will deviate?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I don't have any doubt about it. Maybe people on the team don't believe that, but I believe that, knowing from my Netflix experience,
And you're the boss,
that you
so.
need. Well, I'm the boss of the engineering on the UI side, but I'm not the boss of the design and everything else.
Okay.
But you're going to want to make as much money as possible on mobile. You're not going to say, well, I can't change that because, it'll mess up our responsive, right? So I think those are driving factors. But responsive is an incredible placeholder, and you always have to have it because you'll have some device or whatever
That'll be new.
Yeah, right.
You want mine? Or, sorry. Well, we're going to go down the line. Go ahead.
Um,
I'm sorry.
So I guess the specific example I have to point to is the Zazzle.com website. I have two pearls of wisdom having gone through this year. First is know your customer base. So if you're going to start with a framework, we started early this year. Foundation 4 had just come out. We liked it because it had a single breakpoint, which simplified the design. We didn't have to design for 3. We also liked it because it gave us a 12-column grid for small screen sizes. So getting away from this idea that for handhelds you're just going to stack everything, that's that's not as flexible.
Isn't 12 a little excessive for?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
But you had it.
But we had it. Yeah, I don't think we've ever gone more than 4 columns on a mobile device. But when you start with a framework that relies on media queries, and it turns out that Internet Explorer 8 is a significant chunk of your revenue, it's another thing where you have to make sure that you have the patches in place in order to support something like that. And we're at the level of scale where we actually really care about that, especially this holiday season. And
Second pearl of wisdom?
I'm trying to remember.
Well, while you're thinking about that, I want to ask you a question because you to me have a very challenging thing where you want a kind of an app experience, and we kind of touched on it, and you're going to responsive. So on the mobile device, do you still have those very interactive things where you can experiment with what it's going to look like?
So
or what about the design mode, the create mode,
sure.
and all that?
And I remembered my other pearl, but
Okay.
I'll answer this first. When we were working with the third-party vendor that was adapting our experience, we turned off entire parts of the website. We turned off the whole create experience because we didn't know how to create a product on a phone. And it was just easier that way. We're like, okay, we'll just be a buyer's website on the phone. That's definitely something we want to get away from. And our JavaScript framework has long supported the touch events. We've long before we even had the adaptive website, you could actually design a product on a phone. Like the iPhone came out, and I remember the first product that got designed on it. It was a horrible experience, but you could do it because we supported the touch events. So this is exactly the area that we're investigating right now, and we've taken a lot of inspiration from PayPal and Netflix. We test left and right, and having a framework that allows us to do that allowed us to build the responsive version of the website and literally just take that slice of HTML and CSS out and update it. And it felt good that we were able to do what we did in the amount of time that we did without changing any of the other functionality of the website.
How big's the team that's doing that? That was doing that?
We had maybe 5 people full-time working on that.
And what kind of timeline?
We took 3 months.
Okay.
And it's a large website.
Yeah.
My second pearl of wisdom: designing for mobile first is not the same as implementing for mobile first. And you read the books and they tell you how to implement for mobile first, and that's great. But if you design for desktop first, then you're going to find all sorts of issues when you actually try to optimize the mobile experience. So because we had a short time span, we made style guide decisions early for the sake of getting something up and pushing it out. And that's fine. And the mobile site did well.
Did you
Yes.
focus on mobile style guides first?
No. The majority of our business is desktop. So we spent most of our time designing the desktop experience and figuring out ways that we were going to deal with what happened below the breakpoint.
And you say business because you have a partner business. I think people.
Well, just creating products.
Right, but you have
yeah.
partners who sell products too, right?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're a whole marketplace.
Which I think is a little bit different than people may not realize with Zazzle. But maybe
Okay.
Do you want to describe it?
Sure. We're a marketplace for customized products. There are.
Should I bring up the site?
You could.
It's almost like a little
Did
bit of
the
a
deploy
mini.
go live?
It's like an eBay marketplace, for if you
Right.
have sellers and buyers.
We have a marketplace where designers can come to the website, design their own content. We have licensed content. We have Disney. We have Marvel. We have Harry Potter. We have pumpkins.
Do you have any Heisenberg stuff? Breaking Bad.
I don't know if we have Breaking Bad. We do have a number of TV properties though.
Ooh.
So you can come and design your own products. If people buy them, you get paid a royalty. You do not have to do long runs of screen prints in order to keep inventory. The other key piece is we started with things that you can print on, things like shirts, cards, mugs. We are constantly expanding our product lines. We have about 100 plus product lines right now, and we're working more and more with third-party manufacturers. Like recently we launched wristwatches. We have a partnership with Rickshaw up in San Francisco to do messenger bags. They're fantastic messenger bags. We print on the fabric, ship it up to San Francisco. They cut it out and hand make the bag for you. They're gorgeous. I have one of their laptop bags up here. And we've been doing this for 8 years.
Yeah.
So design for mobile first. Don't forget about designing for mobile first.
Design for mobile first, but don't spend too much time necessarily on the design. Then continue and design more. I mean, that's what I was a little confused about your design for mobile first. Make sure that your implementation is going to work the entire time.
Sure.
Think about mobile the entire time.
Since we launched the website, we've been trying to tune the mobile experience, trying to eke out everything that we can, make it perform better. And there are a number of style guide decisions that we're questioning.
Yeah.
We have a left nav that breaks to the bottom of the page in search results. Is that the best thing to be doing with a left nav for handhelds? Should we, have it more obvious to be able to, to filter your search results? Questions like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also interesting. We're in the midst of, we're redesigning everything within PayPal, and so one of the things that we have is a new. We're actually not calling it mobile first. We're calling it PayPal first, and that sounds a little weird. But what it basically means is if you look at Google. Google has a brand across Android, iOS, and web, right? And so instead of thinking, just in that, one type of channel like iOS or Android, because we had people that really got hung up on the individual experiences to make it look skeuomorphic or not or whatever. So now we're going towards, especially with our consumer app, to have an HTML5 experience that's identical to our native experience, right? And so when you do that, that's obviously an adaptive experience and not. But we'll also have a responsive for the same consumer if you're on the website and you hit it from say a device that wasn't very good, we could just do the responsive.
Right. All right, let's move on down the line. Eric, do you want to describe?
Sure. How many of you guys are designers here, UX designers? Nice, like 5 people. So most of you guys are developers, I would assume. So have you guys actually designed responsive sites before, like actually done the interaction design and the UI? Okay, cool. So some of the best practices for me in general is that, designing responsive is not easy. You have a lot of breakpoints. You have mobile, tablet, phablet, desktop. God knows what's going to be next. And I teach at UC Santa Cruz. I just taught mobile iOS 7. I have actually some of my students in here. It's actually hey, it's like surprise. So I think one of the things that I was really preaching with them is that when you design for mobile sites or responsive is you got to be really organized. You got to really have a style guide sheet like you were suggesting. Responsive design is a new field, and one of the things that I like to do is when I start a project is look at all the landscapes of, let's say, 20 websites and organize your site, in terms of, okay, we're going to have breadcrumbs. We're going to have a navigation bar. We're going to have images. And what I like to do is I like to take these, let's say, top 15 sites and extract specific components like images from Microsoft, images from Yahoo, for example, images from eBay, hypothetically. And then what you can do is that you could connect with your users, for example, or do your own user research, say, hey, which kind of UI components would that be more beneficial? But I think it's, as we go towards more responsive design, it's interesting that a lot of sites out there aren't responsive yet. Like Yahoo or Apple. Why do you guys think that is? In terms of why they haven't made that the step yet?
I think they're more adaptive, right? Because I go to Yahoo in a tablet, it goes to a different website altogether, and that's an adaptive website.
Mm-hmm.
I think for a company of Yahoo scale, that makes sense because they have like millions of traffic coming in. But I would like to put another example about progressive enhancement. That's one topic that I wanted to cover also here. So that's also another way of thinking responsively. And recently BBC, I think, did something called Cut the Mustard that became a very famous talk, where they say that they give the core experience to the website first. So like the bare minimum thing that a user needs immediately when they go to bbc.com, and then they enhance it as and when needed based on your browser, based on your features, not on the browsers, not on the devices, not on anything else, just on the features. That actually is a big relief to engineers because they don't have to worry about the zillion devices, zillion viewports, zillion options that come into them. They just have to worry about the features that come into them, and they enhance it accordingly. I think that worked very well with BBC. That may not be the right solution for everybody though, but I think engineers should consider that option also for some of their core websites, where they deliver the content first, the core thing with the minimalistic design, and then enhance it with more JavaScript, load additional media query CSS, additional stuff, and finally you give this great experience where everybody emerges into.